Hi, where we left off last time, we have a cactus object, and the cactus object can draw itself. And I'd suggested that you make several methods, a move method and an is off screen and a reset position. So let's see what those look like when we fill them in. I think rather than call it move, I'm going to call it something more specific. I'm going to call it move left. And if I open up Cactus, that's where I can define it. Let's have them be side by side so we can see both. So here, if I'm running move left, inside the Cactus definition, I'll have to have public void move left. And because I'm not trying to give it any input here, I don't need to create a variable here to hold the input. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, if I'm going to move, moving means I'm going to change, well, moving left means I'm going to change my x-coordinate. Left means I would subtract some. So I could just have a fixed number that I subtract like this. This is what's called a magic number, and that's bad because another programmer would look at this number and think, what is special about 2? Why is that a good number to have? Why not 5? Why not 1? So rather than have a magic number, we should replace this with a named variable. So we could call it speed, for example. But then we would need to give the cactus a speed. So up here, I could have, well, let's add it to the int list. I could have a speed up here. And then I would need to create it in the constructor, or not create it, assign it. So this dot speed equals 2, for example. I'm noticing a couple of things left over from last time. Well, it's a bad idea to leave this as 150 because that means every single cactus I make will have the same y coordinate. So let's have this be y, and let's have instead of having all the cactuses start with speed 2, I think maybe it makes sense to add another input to the parameter called starting speed. And so here I can say starting speed. But now when I'm creating my cactus over here, I need to give it a starting speed of 2. Okay, so I think that's all worked out now. So when I run move left, now we should actually see it move. Let's test that much because it's a good idea to test. It's a good idea when you're programming to program in small chunks and test each chunk after you're done. So here we go. I'm running it, and nothing seemed. Okay, there we go. So I saw the cactus slowly leave the screen. So now let's figure out if the cactus is off the screen. Okay, so is off screen public. It's going to return Boolean because this is asking a question. Are you off the screen? Yes or no. So this method should have an answer that's yes or no, which is Boolean. So is off screen. And I'll want to do something like this. If the x-coordinate is smaller than 0, then I'll return true. Otherwise, I'll return false, like that. Let's just see what that looks like so far. Actually, I guess let's reset the position. So public Boolean reset position. I don't really like that name. Well, maybe it's fine. Maybe I'll keep it. Except it's not Boolean. It's void. So I'm going to set a new x-coordinate somewhere to the right-hand side of the screen. So let's call it 800. Let's call it right side. So screen right side x plus some random amount. Math.random times, let's say 200. So I'm definitely starting at the right-hand side of the screen x-coordinate plus some amount. Let's go ahead and create this. I'm going to create a constant up here at the top, and I'm going to set this to be 800. And the reason I'm doing that is over here I see that my window is sized 800, and my cactus needs to know about that. Oh, I guess we could, since we have a screen object, we could actually ask the screen. Ooh, maybe that's better. Let's do that. So screen dot width. Cool. All right, so now let's see what it looks like. Okay, so that seems to have worked. It detected that it was at the edge, and it disappeared, but it clearly reset itself over here somewhere. The problem with that, though, is I want the cactus to get completely off the screen. So rather than saying x is less than 0, I need to say something like this, like x plus the cactus width. I want to say like the right-hand side of my cactus needs to be less than 0. So that's x, which is the left-hand side of the cactus, plus the cactus width, which is image.width. Although, you know what I'm thinking, rather than, so image is the image up here. I'm thinking let's actually write a getter method for ourselves, getWidth, and that's going to return image.width. And then here we can get our own width this way. And the reason I like this better is if we decide that we don't want the width of the cactus to be determined by the image, we want to determine it by something else, we can change it very easily right here. It's sort of, the idea is there should be one way of asking the cactus a question, and rather than rely on this variable, we should just let anybody ask the question, and then we can change how the question gets answered later if we need to. Okay, so here we go, and it's totally off. Beautiful. Let's create a second cactus. So later on, we can have an array list of cactuses here. I'm going to call this cactus2, and there's the variable. So now I'd need to actually create it. Cactus2 equals new cactus this. Let's create it an x coordinate of 250 and a y coordinate of 150, and let's give it the same speed, a speed of 2, because otherwise, like, one cactus will like pass the other cactus, which is weird. And then I would need to do all this same stuff for my second cactus. So cactus2 should draw itself, and then cactus2 should move itself, and then I'll say if cactus2 is off the screen, then cactus2 reset position. Just pro tip, you don't actually need the is true here, because my cactus is off screen, already returns true or false. So if it already returns true and we compare it to true, that's true, which is the same thing that it had returned in the first place. So that means that this is actually extra. And this reads more nicely like English. We can just say, if my cactus is off the screen, then my cactus reset its position. All right, let's make sure that's worked with the second cactus. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. And the cactuses might get closer together or further apart because there's that randomness in how we assign their positions. Okay, beautiful.